Money has a strange way of revealing who people really are. For most of my life, I believed family came before everything. Loyalty, support, love. But one day I learned that, for my parents, it was all about control. Growing up, I wasn't spoiled. I worked for everything I had. While my parents owned a small construction business, I studied, saved, and built my own future brick by brick. By the time I was 29, I'd started my own company, a small software firm that, against all odds, grew faster than anyone expected. Within 5 years, we'd landed major contracts and hit 7 figures in annual revenue. To my surprise, the same parents who once told me, "You're wasting your time with computers," suddenly became my biggest fans. Or so it seemed. It started subtly. "Son, we're proud of you," my father said one evening, sipping his drink. "You're doing well now. Maybe you could help us out a little. Business has been slow." I didn't hesitate. "Of course, Dad. How much do you need?" It wasn't the first time they'd asked for money, but I didn't mind. I thought helping them was just part of being a good son. So I transferred what they needed. No questions, no conditions. A month later, they asked again. Then again. And again. By the end of the year, I'd sent them over $80,000. But the strange thing was, their business never improved. Then one day, while visiting them, I overheard a conversation I wasn't meant to hear. I was walking past the kitchen when I heard my mother laughing with my aunt on the phone. "Oh, don't worry," she said. "If we need anything, we'll just ask Ryan. He's practically our bank now." They both laughed. That word, bank, stuck in my chest like a knife. I stepped outside before she noticed me, sat in my car, and just stared out the window. That's when I realized something. They didn't see me as their son anymore. They saw me as their account number. The next week, my father called again. "Son," he began, "we're thinking of expanding the shop, maybe buy some new equipment. Could you send another transfer? Just $25,000 this time." I didn't respond right away. He pressed on. "You know we raised you, paid for your college. It's only fair you give back a little." That line, "It's only fair," sealed it. I finally said, "All right, Dad. I'll transfer the money tonight." He sounded satisfied. "Good. I knew you'd do the right thing." That night, I logged into my account and set up a $25,000 transfer. But I didn't press send. Instead, I changed the recipient name from Dad to Charity Fund for Small Local Businesses. I smiled, clicked confirm, and went to bed. 2 days later, my parents called me over for dinner. When I arrived, the tension was thick. My father's face was red. "What's this nonsense? The money isn't in my account." "I canceled it," I said calmly. My mother slammed her hand on the table. "What do you mean you canceled it? We needed that. We're not rich like you." I nodded slowly. "You're right. You're not rich. But you've had enough from me to not be struggling. I checked your business records. You didn't expand anything. You just used my money for new cars, vacations, and remodeling the house." Her eyes widened. "You looked through our finances?" "Yes," I said. "Because I finally realized I wasn't your son anymore. I was your ATM." That's when my father snapped. "We're not your bank, Ryan. You don't get to lecture us after everything we did for you." I smiled faintly. "Good. Because I'm not yours either." And with that, I stood up, took my jacket, and walked out. That night, I moved all my accounts to a new bank, disconnected them from every financial link we'd ever shared, and blocked their access to anything tied to my company. It wasn't anger, it was peace. For the first time in years, I felt free. Weeks passed before I heard from them again. Then one morning, my father texted, "We're sorry. We didn't realize what we were doing." I didn't reply. But I did make sure they received a small anonymous donation through a verified charity, enough to help with basic needs, not luxuries. It wasn't revenge. It was closure. A few months later, I got a message from my younger sister. "Mom and Dad finally paid off their debts. They've been talking about you a lot, how you taught them something they didn't want to admit." I asked what she meant. She replied, "That love isn't measured in money. And that respect ends when entitlement begins. Now, every time I see a bank commercial, I can't help but smirk. Because once upon a time, my parents yelled, "We're not your bank," trying to shame me into giving more. They were right. They weren't my bank. And I was never theirs.